Hello, in this video I will be covering a very valuable and enlightening discussion about the safe money retirement plan, what many people today are calling the private pension plan. And in this video you will not only learn the basics of the private pension plans and annuities, but you will also come away with an understanding of their importance to your retirement, how to create a contractually guaranteed lifetime income stream, and the pros and cons of these private pension plans and annuities. By the very end, you should have a very good idea if this is a fit for you or not. And if you are a baby boomer or a current retiree, then this video is incredibly important for you, and we urge you to watch the entire thing. And we certainly have our work cut out for us, a lot of things to discuss on here. But let's start with what's happening in the stock market right now. It's been up for quite a while, right? I would be willing to bet that those of you watching this video that have lost money in the market over the last 10 years are probably feeling a little bit better about where your balances are now, aren't you? But let's think back to what happened in both 2000 and 2008. The tech market stock bubble burst, and then, of course, in 2008 we had the financial crisis, and many of you saw your account balances drop 30, 50, we even heard some at 60%. You guys remember that, right? Let's also remember how you felt back then. I'm sure you were being told that your loss was only on paper, but did that make you feel any better about what happened to your hard-earned money in those accounts? I sincerely doubt it. And yes, the market has started to come back, and many of your balances are almost back to where they in 2006, but what did we really learn from that experience? Well, what we should have learned is that there are no guarantees for investments in the market. While the stock market continues to hold the best opportunities for growth and investments, there are risks involved, risk and reward that go hand in hand. And over the past few years, the stock market has been all over the place, up, down, sideways, and just ever-changing. And along with it, your account balances have followed. If I ask everyone here watching this video the most common question they have regarding their investments, it would probably be, where should I invest my money now, and what mix of investments is right for my financial situation? However, there are equally important questions that you should ask yourself, like what are my objectives, and how do I plan for what I want to be at retirement? What is my risk tolerance? Can I afford to take chances with my retirement funds at this point in my life? Will another market downturn affect my current and or immediate future income? Will I be able to keep living in the manner I'm accustomed to if that downturn happens? And how should my portfolio be allocated at this point in my life? Meaning growth, value, international stocks, tax-free, taxable bonds. What will be the tax implications in the future? And more importantly, how will my investments affect taxes and my legacy when I'm gone? Now, we're going to discuss the importance of all of these issues and concerns, but let's first address the current state of our economy. It's really still kind of a mess, right? And I'm sure many of you continue to feel the ill effects of this depressed economy, even if the stock market is up, due to really a few years of printing money and having billions each month of debt manipulated by the Federal Reserve. Unemployment is really still at high rates, extremely high rates, even after all the bailouts and for banks and assorted companies and a very poor effort to stimulate the economy. As a country, we still face over $16.5 trillion in debt, and that figure is climbing every single day. And at some point, that money needs to be repaid by the taxpayers. So yes, this country has definitely seen better economic climates. Let's look at the rate on CDs. I saw in front of the bank the other day touting a 36-month CD paying 1%, and they were bragging about it. Now look at Treasury. What are Treasury bills paying today? Some of them are barely paying just above zero. Well, let's get going here in this presentation. Enough of the intro. To begin, times have certainly changed in regards to your retirement. Gone are the good old days when you retired with a gold watch and a nice pension that was guaranteed to last as long as you lived, and then possibly even some left for your surviving spouse to depend on. Yes, unfortunately, those days are long gone. The responsibility of making sure that your retirement funds last as long as you do has been taken away from the company you work for and now rests squarely on your shoulders. Yes, today the responsibility now lies with you as the employee. The transition has gone from those guaranteed pensions to funding your own pension plan like a 401k, a 403b, or a 457 plan. And some individuals don't even have the luxury of being offered one of those to their employers, through their employees. So these days, they have to take it upon themselves to open IRAs to completely self-fund their retirement plans. Many economists and speakers are calling this the new normal. But there are some big potential issues facing us with this new normal for retirement income planning that really need to be addressed and examined. And we're going to cover each one of these in depth in the video. Issue number 1 is a possibility of outliving your retirement assets. Issue number 2, taxes, not exactly what you bargained for. Number 3, inflation. And number 4, hidden fees in your 401k plans. All of these pose very big threats to the safety and security we should all be striving to achieve in what are supposed to be the best years of our lives. Let's take a look at each one of them. Issue number 1 is quite possibly the biggest concern that individuals at or near retirement have. If you are like most Americans fast approaching retirement age, you are facing the most important issue of your life. Will you have enough resources to live comfortably during retirement? Because life can be wonderfully long and life expectancies continue to increase, there really is a good possibility that you could spend many years living in retirement, which should be a good thing, right? I mean, thanks to medical advances and better nutrition and increased awareness of health issues, people are living longer than ever before. Now, this fact may be a key risk in regards to planning for your retirement. The longer you live, the more money, of course, you will need. And a life expectancy is something that you really need to consider when planning for your retirement. Who would have ever thought that millions of people are fearing living too long because they worry they might not have enough money to support their lifestyle and health care, etc. So consider your time horizon very carefully. A common issue when planning for retirement is the amount of time believed to spend in retirement is often way underestimated. The truth is you have a very good chance of spending 25 or more years in retirement if you retire around that age of 65. Let's take a look at the next slide to see exactly what I'm talking about. This chart illustrates the probability that an American retiring at age 65 will live to a certain age. As you can see, a male age 65 has a 50% chance of living to age 85 and a 25% chance of living to age 92. For a female, those numbers are even higher. At age 65, a female has a 50% chance of living to age 88 and a 25% chance of attaining the age of 94. And for a couple, there's a 50% chance of one of the survivors living to age 92 and a 25% chance of one survivor living to age 97. And as you can see by these numbers, outliving one's income in retirement is a legitimate concern that needs to be addressed by everyone. Potential number 2 is taxes. Retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs originated with the concept of withdrawing funds at lower tax rates in the future. The original concept that qualified plans were based on was, of course, to defer paying those taxes while you're working and then withdraw the funds in retirement when your tax rate would be much lower. Now, this doesn't show much promise in the future, especially if we keep running trillion-dollar deficits each year. Whether or not you want to accept it or not, taxes will undoubtedly go higher due to our large national debt. And no demographic or class will not feel some effect of this. These higher taxes will inevitably be eaten to any account that you need to live on during retirement. Our national debt, as you probably all know, is over $16 trillion, and it's expected to increase greatly over the next decade. Some contributing factors behind this prediction are the aging population, rising health care costs, expansion of federal subsidies for health insurance, and growing interest payments on the federal debt. We are currently paying almost $1 trillion a year in interest alone on the debt we've incurred so far. And here's a startling thought. The Congressional Budget Office, also referred to as the CBO, has reported the prediction that as a nation, we will be paying over $2 trillion in interest alone on the debt that we owe annually by 2019, which is really not that far away. Since the source of repayment of these debts is through income taxes, the only solution seems to be higher taxes. Given our nation's debt and the fiscal uncertainty we are in, it seems pretty clear that tax rates will climb. So knowing all this, you have to ask yourselves, should qualified plans be the foundation of your retirement plan? And if they are, what kind of effect will this have on your retirement income? Here's a very eye-opening chart. It illustrates the past tax rates from 1913, when income taxes were very first collected, all the way up to 2012. It also illustrates how and when certain occurrences affected the rates at which we were continued to be taxed. As you can see, as recently as 1963, marginal tax rates, the highest ones, were up to 91%. That was 1963. In 1980, they dropped to 70%, and it wasn't until 1987 they dropped lower than 50%. Even with the recent tax rate increase that took effect on January of 2013, our highest tax rate is now 39%. If you fall into a certain category that pushes you over a certain income level, which, by the way, is lower than the $400,000 plus in income for which this higher tax rate is levied, you can now have an additional 4.7 tax added to your tax bill. A lot of you don't even know about this. Let's take a look at the next slide to hear about this new tax. Yes, there is a very new tax that took effect January 1st of this year, 2013, that was levied to help fund the new affordable health care law that some are calling Obamacare. Now, could this new 2013 affordable health care tax affect your taxes this year? Of course. Regardless of Congress passing legislation extending the Bush tax cuts and not going off what's referred to as the fiscal cliff that we all keep hearing about, certain taxpayers will be facing a new 3.8 new tax assessment on unearned income, as well as increase in Medicare taxes, which will increase from 1.45 to 2.35. Now, this new law does not have the higher income levels that were negotiated for the extension for those particular tax cuts. Let's talk about potential issue number 3, inflation. This should be a huge concern for anyone attempting to plan their income out for the next 10, 20, 30 years, which probably most of you. So I got a question. Do you remember what you paid for your first home? $100,000, $50,000, $25,000? Anyone watching this lower than that? Can you even build a 2-car garage for the cost of your first home these days? Chances are, if you're a baby boomer or a retiree, you have seen the impacts of inflation over the years. Now, what did you pay for your last car, your most recent car? Did it cost more or less than your first home? You might have even paid more, right? And this sounds like something that you would have heard from your mom or dad or grandparents, but now it's starting to be true for a whole nother generation. Very scary. So let's take a look at these hypothetical examples of rising costs with inflation at just a 3% rate. That car you paid $25,000 for just back in 2009 will cost $45,140 in 2032. After 20 years, all of these things pretty much cost twice as much. And in addition to protecting you from potential unnecessary taxation, you need to help protect your money from inflation. Inflation is like a moving walkway at the airport. We've all seen it, right? Except it's running in the opposite direction from the gate you're supposed to be at. If you don't at least keep up with the pace of inflation, you'll actually go backwards. Now, to get where you want to go, it's always helpful to beat inflation and reduce taxes. Now, so far, we've covered 3 big potential issues that could possibly derail your current retirement plan and possibly create havoc for you in what are supposed to be your golden years, the best years of your life, a time to relax and, have fun after a lifetime of hard work and sacrifice. It was never meant to be a time for you to be worried and stressed out and wondering how you're going to pay your bills and maintain the lifestyle to which you've been accustomed to. So my question to you is, if you factored in all these issues, have you? The possibility of outliving your income and taxes, as we discussed, and inflation in your current retirement plan? And before I go into some powerful solution to these issues, let's talk about problem 4 real quick. Here's a startling statistic. According to a 2011 AARP survey, 71% of people with 401ks didn't even know they were paying fees for their retirement accounts. So what are these fees and how much do they really cost you? The answer might shock you. Fees can, on average, reduce your 401k balance up to 30%. That's regardless if you have $1 or $1 million in your retirement account. And what are these fees that are taking such a big bite out of your retirement account? There's actually 4 kinds. There's administrative fees, there's marketing fees, which are sometimes referred to as 12B1 fees, and there's investment management fees, and of course trading cost. So you may wonder, is 30% a big deal? Yes. Let's take a look at an example on the next slide to see just what an impact that these fees can have on your 401k. Okay, let's put some real numbers on this. This hypothetical example illustrates an average 2-earner household where the combined earnings is between $50,000 and $70,000 a year over the course of 40 years, from age 25 to 65. This couple, unlike most Americans, consistently saves between 5 to 9% of their salaries each year and puts that money into a 401k account, gradually increasing their annual contribution over time. And atypically, they never have to withdraw from this account. They invest their 401k account equally in stocks, mutual funds, and a bond mutual fund, each of which charges average market fees. For such a household, 401k fees will cost $155,000 over a lifetime, which leaves a couple with about $350,000 in 401k income at retirement. This might sound like a large amount, but if the couple spends this nest egg at the 4% annual rate recommended by many financial advisors, they will have a mere $14,000 a year, not a month, a year supplement to their Social Security benefits. It's not exactly a king's ransom. However, sadly, $350,000 is by far more than what most Americans save. According to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, the average household approaching retirement has only $100,000 in total retirement savings among all of their accounts. How many of you watching this today are okay with losing up to 30% of the money you have worked so hard to save and set aside for retirement in fees? It seems like a steep price to pay for investment management, doesn't it? So many individuals are shocked by the amount of money they lose in fees in these type of accounts. And a lot of you, I hope, are sitting there saying to yourselves, well, I have Social Security to rely on. Let's take a look at the next slide, though, before we get too excited about Social Security. Social Security, will it be there and will it be enough to live on? Now, I would like to point out that Social Security was never intended to be the only source of income for retirement. It is meant to supplement your other resources. Did you know that no matter what you made as a salary during your working years, the maximum Social Security benefit for a worker at full retirement age in 2013 is $2,533 per month? And that is assuming that you time turning on your Social Security income perfectly, which very few do these days, by the way. So ask yourself, even if you do receive this maximum amount, will that be enough to live on? And just how secure is the Social Security system, and will it be there when you need it? And I know you hear a lot of stuff in the media. Everyone seems to be worried that the Social Security system is ready to collapse, right? The truth regarding the solvency of Social Security is contained in the Social Security Trustees Report that is filed every year by the trustees and signed by the Secretary of the Treasury. And so for now, yes, the funds will actually definitely be there to pay your retirement benefits that you're counting on through that Social Security fund. According to the 2012 last year's trustee report, Social Security expenditures exceeded non-interest income in 2010 and 2011, but it is still solvent to pay 100% of the benefits all the way up until 2033, which, by the way, happens to be 3 years earlier than they projected in last year's report. Now, currently, bearing any changes in policy after 2033, the Social Security taxes we take in are only projected to fund around 75% of the projected benefits we'll be paying out. And then there's a lot of chatter in Washington about what changes will be necessary going forward to kind of firm Social Security up. But over time we'll tell, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more down in the future. But for now, you will definitely have the funds there, and they will be paid out as scheduled. And how many here today are in a position where they're allowed to keep what they receive in Social Security benefits and not pay a portion, and sometimes a large portion, to the IRS and taxes? I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but there were amendments passed in 1983 and again in 1993 that changed the rules regarding taxation of Social Security benefits. Now, many individuals are forced into paying taxes on their Social Security, and in some cases as high as 85%. This occurs if you have substantial income such as wages, self-employment, interest, dividends, and other taxable income that must be reported on your tax return. The good news is there are some strategies available that can help reduce and sometimes even eliminate you having to pay these unnecessary taxes. So you're probably wondering, when are we going to get into the details of creating solutions to a lot of these retirement potholes we've been discussing? And I really do want to thank you for your patience thus far, as the remaining slides will do just that. Because so far I've covered quite a bit of gloom and doom on the previous slides. So what is the answer? How can you help prepare yourself for these potential pitfalls that could possibly have a catastrophic effect on the safety and the security of your retirement? To begin, by taking a step back and reassessing your current plan, and by taking some big steps to interject the safe money retirement plan kind of mentality and establish your own private pension plan. Let me explain what that means. What comes to mind when you think of the safest place in the world? I'm sure most of you agree that the answer is always home. So, how I explain the process of putting together a solid retirement plan is referring to the process of building your financial house. In building this financial house, we need to build it together one brick at a time. So here's another question for you. When you build a house, what would be the very first thing that you would build? And it's not a hot tub. It would be a foundation. And why is that? You build the foundation to support the rest of the house so it doesn't fall down. It's so incredibly important to take care of the foundation first. In the retirement, financial planning world, there are certain things that you can use to build that same secure, guaranteed foundation. And now, of course, everyone is different. And when putting together their financial house, people will have their very own taste, and many want different styles. Just like in building a house, each individual will kind of have their own plan. Some of you may want a ranch with everything all on one level, nice and simple, nothing fancy, and others want some more sophistication and want their house to have many layers and levels with a little bit fancier. But one thing I am sure we can all agree on is that in retirement, we need a safe, guaranteed foundation that you can rely on to support you and the income that you will need to live out the remainder of your years after you stop working. There are so many choices to choose from when it comes to your retirement assets. Of course, there are CDs, but as you know, the rates are pretty low right now, and there's still taxes to consider on that. Bonds are another option, but their value is also tied to where interest rates go, and their value can fluctuate quite a bit along with the economy. There are some others like treasury, bonds, bank accounts, money markets, and accounts that are directly tied to the volatility of the stock market, like individual stocks and mutual funds and variable annuities. And of course, you could always just stuff the money under your mattress. So what can you do to make sure that your hard-earned retirement assets will be there when you need them, and ensure that you never outlive those assets? One type of account that has become increasingly popular and suitable for many individuals at or near retirement is the fixed indexed annuity, and I'm going to tell you why. And now, before you stop the video and say, I know all about those, or some advisor tried to sell me one of those and they really stink, or my CPA told me to stay away from fixed index annuities, please watch a few more slides, as there are quite a few important things that the media, including your CPA or attorney, who seem to be the least educated about these kind of annuities, don't know. Let me ask you this question. If you knew without a shadow of a doubt that you had a guaranteed paycheck that was going to show up in your bank account every single month, just like clockwork, and you knew you could count on this money to cover the basics like food, shelter, clothing, electricity, golf, no matter what, how would that make you feel? Would it make you feel safe? Of course it would. That would help ease your fear of not having the funds to live on the rest of your life in the manner which you have become accustomed and deserve after all your years of hard work, right? This is just one of the securities that a fixed indexed annuity can provide. With a fixed indexed annuity, you also eliminate market risk. Your nest egg is never put at risk due to downturns in the stock market. Also, your gains are automatically locked in and posted directly to your account. You never give back any gains if the market goes down in later years. Finally, you can create a contractually guaranteed private pension income stream that will last at least as long as you do, if not longer, and even put it in place for your spouse, which many older pensions can't even do. First, understand that there are good annuities and there are bad annuities, just like any product or service that you might buy. When I hear someone say they'd never buy another annuity because of the poor performance or the high fees they experienced with the annuity they had, I have the same reaction if I had heard someone say they'd never buy a car again because they had a bad experience with a lemon they'd previously owned. And I'm not sure if all you've been hearing what is being said regarding annuities in the media, but they have become much more popular in recent years, which is mainly due to the innovations in how they are structured and the type of opportunities and protections that they can provide. In fact, even Washington, D.C., is now looking into how annuities can be used to create a more secure retirement for Americans. And this includes making it easier to utilize annuities inside of 401ks and IRAs. Because having that guaranteed floor underneath to protect your principal is a very, very attractive feature. It can afford investors the freedom to position other parts of their portfolios more towards longer-term growth as a potential hedge against inflation. So they now have a better chance of their assets outlasting their retirement. In fact, given so much uncertainty with the economy and the possible negative effect it could have on the safety of retirement assets, it's no wonder investors are finding the new generation of fixed indexed annuities so appealing. Now, is an annuity right for you? Let me just begin by saying no one investment is right for everyone. There are individuals that annuities are a perfect fit for their retirement planning strategies, and then others that it might not be the correct vehicle that they are looking for to place their retirement savings in. Let's go over these two columns. The first one is the yes column. If you answer yes to these statements as they pertain to you and what you're looking to achieve with your savings, then a fixed indexed annuity could be a good fit for you. Let's go over each one at a time. Are you at or nearing retirement? Concerned about risk of your principal? Are you interested in tax deferral? Are you seeking access to only one portion of funds in the event of emergency? Will you be at least 59 and a half or older when you start taking withdrawals? Are you seeking a way to guarantee an income stream that you can't outlive? Are you looking for upside market-linked growth without risking principal? And now let's move on to the no column. Do any of these statements fit your particular situation or needs as they relate to your lifetime of savings? Younger age time horizon for market recovery, not really a concern. You're more concerned with growth than they are market risk. You need access to 100% of your funds prior to age 59 and a half. And you have no other investments for income in case of emergency. You have no need for guaranteed income in retirement, and tax deferral is not important. Now, I'm sure after going over these two slides of the chart, you can all see which slide your particular financial situation falls into regarding whether a fixed indexed annuity could be a fit for you or not. Let's talk for a minute about what makes the fixed indexed annuity a definite possibility as a piece to your financial puzzle. And let's look at this hypothetical example of a chart, and this is, of course, for illustration purposes only and is not indicative of past nor intended to predict future performance of any indexed or annuity product. In this illustration, it shows the potential performance of a fixed indexed annuity during a 14-year cycle. The red line indicates how fluctuations of those invested in the stock market over the same 14 years. So that's the actual S&P is the red line. Now, as you can see, the red line experienced both gross and loss, just like we all witnessed in the last 14 years. And I'm sure many of you might have accounts that have looked just like this. Is that fair to say? So in looking at the chart, you will also see the line indicating the fixed indexed annuity, which is, of course, the green one. As you can see, in the years when the stock market had increases, the fixed indexed annuity generated interest credits. Each year, the indexed annuity's interest credits are protected and would not be lost due to potential future drops in the market to which it is linked. Now, a closer look at the chart shows that when the market decreased, the value of the fixed indexed annuities differed from monies directly invested in the market. In those down years, the value of the fixed indexed annuity remained the same as shown prior to that year before. So yes, you didn't earn anything, but you didn't lose either. The principal and any previous credits interest that you had are protected from loss due to downside market fluctuations, as long as there are, of course, no withdrawals in excess of the free withdrawal amount, etc. In future years, when the annuity value goes up, those credits will be locked in again and protected once again from any potential direct market loss. And of course, as a quick disclaimer, this is for hypothetical and educational purposes only. And although it does accurately represent historical performance based on some certain criteria, it does not indicate or guarantee similar future performance. And finally, annuities are products of the insurance industry. Guarantees are backed by the claims paying ability of the issuing company, for your quick disclaimer. All right, besides the great features of eliminating market risk and the ability of locking in your gains with a fixed indexed annuity, they also provide some really interesting benefits, which include tax-deferred growth of your principal, potential for those index-linked interest gains that we talked about. It avoids probate, which could be huge, penalty-free access to your money each year, and the ability to receive pension-like income that you can't outlive. And yes, they have the ability to provide guaranteed lifetime income for you and your spouse without giving up total control of your nest egg. In triple compounding, Albert Einstein once referred to the concept of triple compounding as the eighth wonder of the world. And it provides you the benefit of interest on your principal, which is the number one, interest on your interest, and then number three, interest on your tax savings, because, of course, your interest is free from current income tax and an annuity. It can all continue to compound instead of being withdrawn for tax payments. Tax deferral benefits include funds grow at tax deferred, of course. You pay no taxes while the money is compounding, so you get no 1099, etc. It helps provide control over your taxes, and it also can really help reduce taxes on Social Security benefits, which is a whole other video we'll go into. So, in planning for your retirement, how do you know just how much of your hard-earned dollars should be placed at risk? Now, a very simple rule of thumb is the rule of 100. You basically take 100 minus your current age, and that will leave you with a figure or a percentage that should represent the maximum amount of your assets that should be placed in riskier investments that involve market losses such as mutual funds, stocks, bonds, and variable annuities, etc. So, for instance, if you were 70 years old, you take 100 minus 70, which of course gets you 30, and that would mean that 30% would be the maximum amount of assets that you would have at risk. And of course, this isn't 100% accurate by any means, but it does give you a good idea of where to begin if you have absolutely no clue. I love this very thought-provoking quote from old Mark Twain as he referred to market volatility and the safety of his hard-earned dollars. And he says, "I'm not as concerned about the return of my money as the return of my money." You know, so simple yet so true in today's volatile environment. Another popular question we hear about these fixed index annuities is, why hasn't my current broker not mentioned them to me? And that is because they're an insurance product. They're not an investment. And if you didn't know, Wall Street does not market or make insurance products. When you purchase an indexed annuity, you're not putting your money at risk. They are truly safe money type of products. In the brokerage world, they market investment products, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. Therefore, it is not in Wall Street's best interest to promote indexed annuities because there's really not a profit for brokers and fund managers on Wall Street. In fact, they will usually try to beat up indexed annuities in the whole industry by placing Wall Street interest and commissions above clients' needs. It's kind of considered taboo that you should choose to insure a portion of your retirement assets using index annuities because there's no profit to be made for the fund managers, and most times they're not even allowed to sell them. And let me ask you, after what was exposed about Wall Street during the financial crisis, how much trust do you have in them doing what's best for the client? And along the same lines, after the past 4 years of banner stock market returns in a somewhat manipulated market, would you say the chances are getting better or worse that we experience another bear market next? As you probably know, no bull market lasts that long, and many positive years are always, without exception, followed by periods of market going down. It's just part of the volatility. So the longer this bull market lasts today, the better the chances every single day that we have another downturn or kind of recessionary time. Are you prepared and protected today if it occurred tomorrow? Have you ever heard the old expression, never gamble what you can't afford to lose? Now, this holds especially true in dealing with the safety of the funds you have set aside to live on in retirement. In today's volatile economy, it is so important to have a choice for a safe and secure place to help ensure that the funds will last as long as you do. When it comes to dealing with losses in the market related to retirement funds, are you aware that $2.3 trillion was lost in the market collapse in 2008? And did you also know that of this staggering amount, not one dime was lost in principal and money that was invested in fixed index annuities? How's that for safety? You owe it to yourself to carefully consider your time horizon. Will you have enough time to recapture lost gains in the event of another downturn? And if not, what kind of effect would that have on your retirement and the money that you are counting on sustaining you in your golden years? Now, before I wrap this video up, there's one last topic I feel I really must cover. Has anyone here ever heard of a stretch IRA? I'm sure that many of you have IRAs, and some may even have pension plans such as 401ks and 403bs. Now, all of these different types of retirement investments have their own rules for distributions, and not knowing exactly what those rules are for that particular type of account may end up costing you, as well as your beneficiaries, a great deal unnecessary penalties and taxes. If you fall into this category and are unsure of what these particular distribution rules are, it might be time for what we call a qualified plan checkup. As we discussed earlier in this video, qualified plans are funds that originated from employer plans that you have not had to pay taxes on yet, like 401ks, 403bs, and your SEPs. So what I would like to offer all of you that are watching that have made it this far is a complimentary, no-obligation book that has sold thousands of copies at around $20 a pop on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. But unlike the inconvenience of having to buy it and then wait a week or so for it to get delivered, we're going to give you access to the entire book emailed in a digital format that comes to you in merely seconds. And this is a free, safe retirement book. And besides getting the lowdown on annuities that we discussed, the private pension plan, and some secrets about which annuities are really best for you, this book will also show you ways to control these annual distributions from your IRA. Because it may even be possible to set up your IRA in such a way that your children and your grandchildren can take systematic payments for the duration of their life, thus allowing that compounding to continue based on their, of course, much longer life expectancies. And most of you might not know this, but what I just explained can actually be done inside of an annuity. Now, how's that for a legacy? So in this hypothetical example on the screen, to give you an idea about this, it shows that by utilizing the stretch IRA concept, the $250,000 IRA paid out $378,957 to IRA owner and spouse over their lifetimes. And after that, another $961,000 in distributions to the children and grandchildren over their life expectancies. Now, as you will see in the illustration, the longer the life expectancy, the smaller percentage of the IRA balance each payout must be. Add all of these distributions up, and it comes to $1.3 million in total distributions from the original IRA of $250,000. With a traditional IRA, the money is taxed as it is taken out of the IRA, whether by the account owner or beneficiaries. So stretching out that IRA gives the funds extra years, potentially decades, to compound tax deferred. What a difference, as you can see here. Now, this example clearly shows the power of compounding over future generations. And now, once you've downloaded the free ebook, you can take a look at the stretch calculation and see just how it might work for you and your family. And a review of these plans could help provide you with the answers to those and any of the other questions that you might have. Now, guidance with these distributions, these qualified plans, is extremely important. If proper procedures are not followed with these distributions, it could lead to tax consequences for both you as a plan participant and your beneficiary. So be very careful. So, if you've made it this far, we finally feel you deserve not just an award, but something that could truly be life-altering for your retirement if used correctly. Now, just like any big decision in life, it all needs to start with proper education. The free book that we would like to give you is called Save Your Retirement. It can be found on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and it was written by a group of gentlemen who have helped distribute many billions of dollars of annuity premium over the years with countless carriers. They have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly as the kind of middleman distributor. And they wrote this book to help consumers just like you speed through the muck of misleading gimmicks, etc., and go straight to the real pros and cons of annuities and this whole private pension plan concept. It only takes a second to download, and there really is no catch or credit card, etc. We really hope you enjoy the book, and we wish you the very, very best in life and, of course, retirement. You deserve nothing less.